All right, hello and welcome to our annual holiday extravaganza. If you're tuning in now to the recording and the replay, you've already missed some prizes. So we've already given away some of our hashtag No Boring Books swag, but that's okay because there's more to come. And so today it is an open Q&A. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and post them in the chat at any time. And I will introduce, I will say their names and they will introduce themselves. Some of our wonderful team who is here. So you've got a sense of who is in the house to ask your questions of. So you'll get the answers from the real experts, not from me who takes their information and then shares it after the fact. All right, so first up in my corner, I have Kelly Reagan up there. And so Kelly, I'll just turn it right over to you to say what you do at Book Launchers.
All right, get to go first. Hopefully I don't disappoint. So I'm Kelly. I am Book Launcher's Master of Manuscripts. Yes, that does sound kind of like a Hogwarts professor position. But essentially, I do a lot of content editing, developmental editing, and ghostwriting, as well as coaching sometimes. But ultimately, it's like the making of the book and the making it better is my specialty. And I love working on manuscripts and helping authors to grow and to see ideas take shape. I think that's one of my favorite parts of this job, and it's just so fun to see all the manuscripts come through. Always rooting for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. And we have a really great YouTube video from that I did with Kelly on what she does as a content editor. So maybe Angela, after she introduces herself, because she's going next, after that, she can go into YouTube and find that one for you guys. Take it away, Angela Jones.
Well, classic me, I'm taking a note to myself to pull that YouTube video so that I don't forget. I know a lot of you guys, you will have at least seen my name on YouTube. I am the operator here, so I do a lot of things back of house. I really don't touch your manuscripts, but I hear all about them. And especially when you first joined up with Book Launchers, I have been the person who looked at your application form when you first sent it in. But really what I do a lot of times is I work back of house helping Julie manage the company by keeping us all up to date with state compliance, expenses, invoices, hiring. So I do a lot back of house.
Awesome, thank you. And anybody who's coming in, make sure you say hello. It's great to have you here. And next on my screen is Sarah Bean, our book marketing manager.
Hi, everybody. And in true marketing form, I'm posting to our Book Launchers Instagram story right now, posting all about our little party here. So nice to see everybody. I'm Sarah Bean. I'm our book marketing manager. And so I work with our entire marketing team and our authors on marketing their book, identifying their platform, helping them build using the tools that they have at their disposal, and then helping them discover the new opportunities they're going to bring their books to new audiences. So anything that's marketing kind of falls under my umbrella. And then that also goes over to some sales and bulk sales and speaking and a whole bunch of all the things that are going to bring your books to good audiences.
Awesome, thank you. And on my screen, I'm next. So for anybody who doesn't know, I am Julie Broad. I'm the founder of Book Launchers, and I generally don't touch your manuscripts either, but I kind of poke my nose in everybody's business. That's kind of what I do. I check in on things. I'm like, hey, where's this? Can I see this? And so that's my job at the company. Plus, I create as much great content as I possibly can to help all of you. So if you ever have questions, you're not finding an answer anywhere on the web or in my YouTube channel, you can just go ahead and ask that question, because I love having new questions to create content for you, whether it's blog posts, videos, and working on a new book marketing book for you for next year too. So lots of cool stuff underway, and I'm just really glad to have you here today. Alyssa, you're next. I see you in the corner.
Hi, I'm Elissa, and if Angela is largely back of house, I am definitely front of house. I'm an author concierge here at Book Launchers, and my job is to answer your questions and address your concerns and make sure that you know what's happening at all times, if at all possible. And if you have questions or things that haven't been addressed yet, I can find the answers if I don't have them. I'm also the keeper of checklists and to-dos and deadlines. If you are one of those people who love extra deadlines, I will give you extra deadlines. But really, I'm here to help you know that we are taking care of you. And if you need anything, I'm your girl.
Awesome. I love that description. I'm glad it's recorded. And next I see Jacqueline Kyle.
Hi, I'm the book production manager here at Book Launchers. So I'm the person who evaluates your manuscript when you come in, gets you paired up with the right appropriate place to start in the process, and then get you through all the individual steps of editing and layout and design so that your book is professional and polished when it is published. Blah, tongue twister. But that's it in a nutshell.
She's also the automation queen at Book Launchers. So anytime any one of us is like, we've done this task 25 times, is there a way the systems we have can do this? And Jacqueline goes, And then the next day she's like, I've set up this automation for you. And when you press this button, this is going to happen. It's amazing. All right, Dan, we didn't know Dan was going to be here. So this is a lovely treat. So this is putting him completely on the spot, but, but Dan, good.
Pleasure to be here. I've been working with Book Launchers for the past 2+ years, and mostly deal with editing, writing, guiding stories, helping people bring their stories forward. And it's just so exciting to collaborate with people and help them bring their stories forward and help them make it count and make it great. And I just love that process, and just appreciate each project because each one is unique and different in their own way.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. So now you guys have a sense of who is here. You can post any questions you have, but while you're thinking about that, let's kick it off with some holiday trivia. So my first trivia question, and you got to get your fingers ready to hit go into that chat box and make sure you're replying to everyone so we can legit see who's first. Okay, so what day in December is National Candy Cane Day?
As everyone frantically Googles this, who
Right?
knows this, Julie?
And I'm guessing this is the US
You
because I
could
know
just-
we have several international.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Unless you know what it is where you are.
I mean, just guess, right? That's right, Andy. Just put a guess out
At
there.
a 1 in 31 chance. Yeah.
Exactly.
Number 18, 26. Okay.
All right.
11.
All right. I'm thinking that we had a few people Google the answer, and now we know who the fastest Googlers are. So our prizes go to, where did I see it? Angela Shelton, Kevin White, Mark Creaky, and I saw one more before.
Alan West.
And Alan West. All right. So your prize is one of our magnets. So you'll need to make sure Angela has your mailing address to get these to you. So we have different magnets, and I don't know if this is coming through very clearly. This is one. The greatest gift you can give an author is a review on Amazon. That's one of your magnets. I also have another one over here. Sorry, they're on my filing cabinet, so they're down low. This one is the proud #NoBoringBooks author. And then there's one more that is out of reach, but it says, write the book you want to read. Actually, that's what my t-shirt says. So write the book you want to read. So make sure Angela has your mailing address, and she's keeping a list of the prize, but it wouldn't hurt to put that in your email as well, what you have just won. So thanks for playing our holiday trivia. And I don't think I've seen anybody ask any questions yet. So you guys are just here for fun. Nobody has a book that they have a question about. Yeah, go ahead.
Just of note, I haven't seen that swag before. I'm super excited. That was a big reveal to me.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, we revealed it on YouTube a couple of lives ago. Yeah, Alan's
I'm in the know. I know.
Yeah.
More than Jacqueline.
I think
Excellent,
Alan's
Alan.
already won one. I think that's Alan's second magnet, actually.
That's
Nice.
what you get for
Why-
being a bestie.
I know. Why I remember these things, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Alan won a magnet already. That's awesome. All right, so we still have, Eric, it's great to have you here. In fact, we are real, all of us. Okay, so let's see, since we still are waiting for questions, which is totally fine. I will come up with questions for my team soon if we don't have some, but I have another
a rare opportunity here. You have a representative from every part of the process here.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
We do have every piece covered. So Alan's been wanting a magnet for a while, so he's really excited. Okay, so I do have one more piece of trivia. So if you're feeling sad that you missed out on that one, and we do have a question, yay, so that's good. But we'll do trivia while other people think of questions. So this one is, and I'm glad our fact checker's not here because I'm not 100% certain I got the answer to this one right, but I do have an answer written down, so I'm looking for this answer. How's that for fair? Okay, so you ready? What is the highest grossing Christmas movie of all time?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good guess. That was what I thought too, was Home Alone. A lot of people are saying Home Alone. I thought that too.
The classic.
Yeah.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean,
It absolutely
100%
is.
yes.
okay, there's a big argument in this realm that my friends and I have been having, because is it a movie about Christmas or is it a movie that takes place at Christmas?
It is.
I agree.
both.
That's why I would argue Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, because it is not about Christmas. It takes place during Christmas. But
Like the movie
anyways.
While You Were Sleeping takes place at Christmas.
That's
Not
right.
a Christmas movie.
Very true. All right, but Allie, Valerie, Kevin, and Angela again, you guys were all right and very fast, super fast. It was in fact Home Alone, as far as my Googling efforts could uncover. Again, our fact checker is not here today, so I'm gonna just take that one. That was what I had written down. So congratulations. You guys also get magnets. So please connect with Angela, get her your mailing address so that she can mail you one of our fabulous magnets. And I have to take this off now because it's hurting my nose. There's a limit, but don't worry, I still will be festive. We can change. So there.
I didn't know there was going to be costume changes.
Only because I anticipated the pain that I would feel from the fake green thing that was on my nose. Okay, fantastic. So now we have some questions that have come in. So I am going to scroll up and let's see. Okay, James, I have two book ideas. One seems to be about a low interest subject and one has a broader appeal. My thought was to do the low interest one first to learn about the process. Let's see, Sarah, thoughts?
So my first question on those is, do they have similar audiences? Because it's not necessarily a terrible idea to start with a lower interest book and start to build a little bit of an audience. But if they're in separate audiences, then you might get a little bit of trouble. You're basically learning from scratch both times. So I would suggest, if they have a similar audience, or you know that whoever's reading your first book is going to be interested in that second book, that's what I mean by similar audience, then yeah, I think you can start with the lower interest one. When you say lower interest, the one thing to keep in mind is just because something is niche and it has a very specific audience doesn't necessarily mean it's low interest. Think about the fact that there are literally millions of podcasts out there on every single topic, and they find audiences no matter how niche they are. So just because a book maybe doesn't appeal to, the hugest crowd doesn't mean it's not going to find an audience. So that's what I would kind of be considering when I'm going into that process is, who are the audiences for these, and is it niche or is it really low interest? Because if it's low interest, why write it in the first place? If it's niche, definitely write it, because you're going to find your audience and build along the way.
Now,
That's my thought.
as a book production person, my hot take on this is, which one are you more passionate about? Because if you're going to be dedicating 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, depending on, what your speed is, you are eventually going to get burned out of your book, no matter how much you love it. And so if you're only somewhat in love with it, you are going to have a really hard time pushing through that wall. And so, yeah, I would pick the one that you feel really needs to be out in the world, because you are talking about spending your free time for the better part of a year on the book.
Awesome answers. Thanks, guys. Anybody have anything to add? You guys are good? We'll carry on. So Deborah is asking, will anyone review my book when it's done? Now, is this as a book launchers? author you're asking that? Will anybody review your book when you're done? Or are you asking generally, like, is anybody here on this live stream interested in doing a book review?
I would probably say both. Deborah, your book is very, very early in the process. And so your book is going to be read by at least 5 people cover to cover before it is out into the world. And then it does get submitted for book reviewers. And there's just going to be a lot of opportunities to get feedback on your book through the production process.
From a marketing perspective, as far as anyone's going to review your book, we do quite a few things to set you up for book reviews. So, we work with several platforms that help you get new consumer reviews. We submit it for book reviews, which we call industry reviews, which are going to be through, we submit them to all the places where in the publishing industry where they can potentially get reviews. And this time, especially since you're early in the process, is the perfect time to be building up your own network of people within your sphere, within your orbit, that potentially will review the book for you when it comes out as well. And Julie, what did you call this time? It's like, it's not pre-sale. It's, what did you call it before? It's like everything's from the time you write a book until it launches. You had a great name for it, and I'm
You should have wrote it down.
I know. But yes, exactly, Andy W. We talk about what's called building your book army, which is all of the people that are within your network that potentially will help you promote the book by doing things like buying copies and reviewing it. So now is the perfect time to start thinking about who's in your book army.
That's awesome. Eric, I saw your question. It is process. Many Americans do not realize that it is pronounced process, but it is in fact pronounced process.
Say Yahoo.
We're so sorry about that, Julie.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Okay, so ebook or paper first or at the same time? I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to turn it to Jacqueline to actually give you some numbers of what we typically see. But especially because we're talking nonfiction at Book Launchers, you absolutely need ebook and paper at the same time for your launch. And if you want audio, I also recommend you launch with all 3. I wouldn't launch with one and then launch with the next one a little while later and then a next one. There's reasons why people think that will work, but you want to have the format available that people want to buy when you're doing the most marketing. And that tends to be in and around your launch. And it's not like they're going to come back later and look for that other format. Like they're just going to move on and forget about your book. So you really want to make sure that whatever format you're going to produce your book in is available when you're going to be marketing your book, full stop. But stats wise, a lot of people are surprised to understand how many books are sold in print versus ebook when it comes to nonfiction. So that's where I know Jacqueline has some numbers.
Yeah, I would say that 80 to 90% of our nonfiction books are done via print. Occasionally we have something that is, really tightly genre focused and it'll take off on ebook, or we'll do ebook sales that drive the traffic to the ebook. But other than that, the vast majority of our sales are going to be paperback or audiobook. And it really is interesting because someone who really loves audiobook is only looking for the audiobook. Like that's it. If it's not there, they're not going to buy it. Same with some people are very dedicated to the ebook. And if you price your paperback or your hardcover too high, you'll see people switch to the ebook instead. So it is a good indicator pricing wise when something is out of line for what your category is. But yeah, if we are seeing 80 to 90% of your sales being in paperback, that is typical. And then if we see an anomaly, then we make adjustments for what your category is and what our expectations are and how we're marketing to it.
Great. Thank you. All right. This is one for Sarah for sure. What's the best thing you can do as an author on launch day?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to back that up and say the best thing that you can do as an author is line everything up. So on launch day, you can sit back and just relax. Ideally, you have spent, 8 to 12 weeks prior to your launch, setting up your mailing list and setting up you're getting your book army ready and reaching out to all of the platforms that you need to. or working with a team like ours to help market your book. And on launch day, you're simply pulling the trigger. You're knocking down the dominoes that you've been lining up for weeks. Really on launch day, what you want to do is notify the most number of people possible that today is the day. The book is out. You can get your copy. That's the day a lot of people like to set up their, maybe their book signings or their launch party. It doesn't have to be on the day of launch. It could be anytime, maybe that week. Especially in this time of virtual, you have a little bit of flexibility there. The reason you set up those launch parties is because it's a great opportunity to sell very quickly with your existing audience. So doing that, it's sending out your newsletters, it's promoting on social media, it's the live, hey, the book is out there in the world. And the biggest thing that I think authors really need to do that a lot of people forget about is that's the day to send out your thank yous. Thank yous to your influencers, thank yous to your audience, anyone who's bought the book ahead of time. Sending them a thank you, letting them know that it's available to the public now is a great way to sort of remind people, hey, you've helped me work on this, and now it's go time. So those are just a couple of the things. And Julie's got a great YouTube video about what to do on launch day that if we can find it, we'll put that in the chat.
Fabulous, thanks. Angela, do we have a prize? Did you do that one?
Yes. Yeah, I messaged you. It was.
Sorry, I've been keeping my comments in order so I can answer the next question and not lose my place.
I don't even know if you announced what this one was.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so what Julie did was when the chat first started, the 25th comment in the for 25 days of Christmas was Eric Reed. So Eric, you will actually be winning a t-shirt. So please email me at angela@booklaunchers.com. We have red and black shirts. The sizes range from small to 2XL. So please send me an email with your mailing address and what color and size shirt you would like.
Cool, thank you. Okay, and next up we have a really, really specific question. How do we build a brand?
Ooh. Well.
I mean, that is an enormous question. I think the first place you want to start, Andy, is really defining what you want your brand to be. Because before you start building a brand, you have to figure out really, what is your brand? Like, what's the purpose of your brand? What's the vision of your brand? What's the goal even of your brand? And then you figure out the kind of the pillars or the core elements of that brand. But a lot of people just start putting themselves out there and they don't actually think about the core elements of their brand. So I would say that's step one. But Sarah?
I mean, and I think you nailed it, is like, what do you want? Why do you want to build a brand in the first place? What are you offering that is not currently out there in the marketplace? And we worked with a great author, Suzanne Tulien, whose, her entire work is built around helping authors define what their brand is through their personal identity. Your brand should follow your values. It should be presenting to the world something that is uniquely yours and nobody else's. And I think this is an area that a lot of people get marketing and branding very confused. They think marketing is branding, when essentially marketing is reaching the most number of people that you can for awareness around your brand. Your brand is your voice. It's what you are presenting to the world, and why they should be coming to you for it. So before, how you build a brand is you start with those very fundamental questions. What's my brand? What are my values behind this brand? What are the things that are uniquely mine that I can offer? Once you kind of put that blueprint down, you can build the steps, because that helps you identify your audience. It's going to help you identify what you're offering. It's going to help you identify how you're doing your marketing. There might be things that are not appropriate for your brand that lots of people are like, this is how you market, but if it doesn't fit with your brand, it doesn't make any sense. So
I have one thing, or like a couple ideas to add from like a writer's perspective on this question, and Dan might also want to chime in. Thinking of my background is in journalism, and creating a brand as a writer versus just someone at a specific outlet is something I think is useful in this conversation. I don't know, where you position yourself as being an expert, like, because yes, you got to ask these fundamental questions and get it straight. And then how do you give it legs is always my question. Like, how does the world then know, like, you're the person to seek out for with this? And I think that it does require some legwork, but then once you do that and establish, like, this is who I am, and this is like what topics you should come to me about, I think that's pretty powerful. And doing that as like a writer versus like as someone who's part of an institution can help you, like, if you're thinking of how do I position myself as an expert and not just tied to this one book because I have other things, but creating like this holistic brand, is important for the long term.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense at all, but
no, it does. You're exactly right. And building on that, I actually have a book of my own that's coming out next May, and leading up to that point, I've actually started my own Substack over the past couple months, and now I write on it every 2 to 3 days and just flood the box with content and material and let people know that I'm the person that you need to go to if you want to know about this specific thing. And, I think it's a really good way for me because, I have every post might get like 100 or 200 views. And it's really just taking that core audience, that core readership of mine, and just really getting them centrally focused on what I'm doing and the book I'm coming out with. And it's been really good for me to kind of see it build and grow a little bit, and it's been incremental and slow, and and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But I think it's good too to like give the lead time, kind of give people an idea of what's going to come next. So it's been neat to see that process on my own, separate from helping other people with their books, and just kind of going through it and being like, oh, there's some effort here. It's not as easy as, you initially think, but you can do it. And there is an audience out there, and it's neat to connect with that audience.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so we have, I'm going to intermix this with a little bit of a scavenger hunt. So the first thing that we have on the scavenger hunt list, so get yourselves ready. And those of you who don't have video on, you'll have to turn your video on to win, because we have to see the item that you have found. So the first item on the scavenger hunt, and the prize is going to go to the first 2 people to show this. You're going to get a t-shirt. So the first 2 people to show me a copy of Self-Publish and Succeed, you will get a t-shirt.
Run.
I love watching everybody run.
Am I eligible?
Hey, Matt.
Oh, Matt,
Nice.
and Mark.
For sure,
right.
I did it work, but it's at home. Yeah.
Eric, you can get a magnet. I think you won something already, right?
A t-shirt.
You might have already.
A t-shirt.
He won a t-shirt, so now he's going to get a magnet. So Angela will just start building a little package for you, because I saw your book come up third. So it was a close third. But congratulations, you guys. That was fun to watch you guys run. All right.
Matt and Mark, I have your addresses. So since you're in our system, you will not need to email me.
Awesome.
Right. Definitely not an extra large, please.
You do need to email her your size.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The sizes and color, yes, but you don't have to include the address. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So heading down, I think, oh, wait, there's one from Shauna. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about book platforms done by you or using a platform that we may have on our own and adapting those? So when you say platforms in this context, are you referring to like distribution systems, like how we're getting the book into the world, or marketing platforms? Shauna, if you can just clarify, you can even unmute yourself if you want and clarify. Where are you? Can she be unmuted?
Yeah, we should be able to unmute. You'll just have to.
She's not muted.
Oh, she's not muted. Okay. She might have to type it in then or talk.
Oh, she says marketing platforms.
Okay, marketing platforms. Okay.
Okay, so you want me to take this one?
Yes, please.
Okay, so your question is I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time? Because I didn't hear the whole
It's
thing.
not super clear. I mean, basically, she's just asking about the platforms that we use. So I'm kind of thinking like, I don't know if you mean, it's very general. So ebook sale platforms could be one. Yeah, I don't know if you want to just
Marketing.
reviews.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's what I qualify under marketing platforms for an author. These are the ones that you probably should have. The first one is going to be a website, and we get a lot of people that are like, oh, I've never had a website, I don't really want one. Well, you need to have a landing place for everyone who is interested in your book, and if you do want to start to build an audience and you're building a brand. On that website, you're going to need to have the ability for people to sign up for an email newsletter list so they can continue to hear from you. And then you're going to want to connect them on socials as well. This is the other question I get a lot is, do I have to have social media presence? And this is a bigger question, but it really goes into who is your buying audience? Who are the people you're trying to target? Because if you don't have a social media presence where they exist, it's a lot harder. Okay, so those are the first basics, right? You're gonna wanna have your website, you're gonna wanna have social media, you're gonna wanna have ability to build an email list. Those are all marketing platforms that you do yourself. Beyond that, what you're looking at is other places where people find books and what is your presence there. Your platform is all about your presence and how people are finding you and finding your content. So this could take the place of, maybe it's your Goodreads or your BookBub, or maybe it's you doing webinars, or maybe it's you doing, in-person events. It can take a lot of forms, but the one thing that hinges on all of it is, where is my buying audience and where are they congregating so I can meet them? They can discover me where they are. So, I mean, that's the basics about what you should have. Now, according to like what we book launchers build versus what you build and then adapt, we do build things like a website, email sequences. We give you content for social media. We don't build out your social media for you. So we'll do all of that in accordance with what your book is and who you're trying to reach. And then if you have some of this already and you're like, all right, but I need to know, is it right? Is it wrong? What do I need to be doing with it? If you have that already, we'll do marketing audits on it. So we'll do a review of the website, the social media, what your current existing platform looks like, and then give you direction on where it should go based on what your goals are. I hope that helped.
That was great. I didn't know where to take that one. So I think that was great. Shauna, you can ask any clarifying questions. We'll get to it in a bit.
Yeah, Shauna, feel free to send anything if I didn't answer the question appropriately. Just go ahead and send some clarifying questions.
And then Angela Shelton says, I'm new to book launchers, but I'm trying to get a sense of what book launchers does for an author who has never published before. Generally speaking, we're a great fit for somebody who hasn't published before, because we really take you through the entire process. And it is process. If you weren't here at the beginning, Alyssa introduced herself, and she's one of our author concierges. And her, I'm actually going to give her a second to speak and let her talk to this. But really, we're one of the reasons I started Book Launchers was because there's lots of great people who will edit your book. There's lots of great folks who can help you write it. There's lots of great folks who will design a great cover, and even some decent marketing options out there in the world. However, a book really struggles to succeed if it isn't planning marketing and layering what you need for marketing success into the entire process, right from the very first conversation, where you're like, what's this book going to be about and who's it for? That all is about book marketing. And so I started the company to bring it all under one roof, because I've seen firsthand how important it is to be thinking marketing and taking marketing actions at every step in the entire process. And so we've got people at the very end of the process who are helping you pitch your book, to find reviewers, to find podcast interviews, to find newsletters and live appearances, and submitting for bookstore and library catalogs and book awards and all those things. And so we see what works and doesn't work at that end, so we can help you in the beginning to set yourself up for a better chance of success. But Alyssa's role here is to really help a new author and a veteran author, for that matter, through the entire process. So Alyssa, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think you covered it really well, but I would say from my perspective, when people come in with a lot of existing knowledge, I always want to respect that, but there's always things that they can learn specifically about how we do things and why. But when it comes to someone coming in that are literally just a ball of questions, I get really excited because I love questions, for one thing, but also because I almost never know all the answers, which means I get to go learn things and ask questions myself from the team to get the best answers. But it should be, in theory, it should be a relationship between the two of us where you feel like you can come in with no pre-existing knowledge and go through the process feeling really secure that you're learning everything you need to learn at each step as it comes. Hopefully not super overwhelming. Hopefully it's kind of an organic thing that develops between us and in your relationship with book launchers. That's always my goal anyway.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so we'll do one more question and then we have another prize. So this one will definitely be for Jacqueline. And Allie says, can you talk about the copyright filing process that you help with?
Oh, okay. So the copyright process in the US is you basically go to copyright.gov, and the thing to know about it is that this system was designed in the 1990s and has not been updated since. And so the entire time that you are filling out all the information about your book, the navigation is going to make you think that you are going in the wrong direction and are crazy. And it's okay. Just keep clicking around. You can't break the system. And even when I shot like a tutorial video on it, I had to go back and edit my poor mistakes out of it. But you just have to be filling out information about like how to contact you. And, is your book already published or is it forthcoming? And usually it's forthcoming when you're doing this. You can file for copyrights, I believe, up to 5 years after you've already published, however. And you are eventually end up getting through the application process. And then it'll say, okay, now it's time to pay. You pay $65 and then they say, okay, now it's time to upload your manuscript. Once you upload it, they think about it for usually several weeks and then send you an email that says, yes, you now have a copyright. We are also going to mail you a certificate in the mail. And so that's the process. You're just going to feel like you're doing it wrong the whole time.
Thank you. Okay, so next one is another scavenger hunt. This one's going to be interesting. We may answer a question while this is going on because it might take you guys a couple of minutes. So we're looking for the book with the oldest copyright inside. So the oldest, so whoever basically has the oldest book on their
Alan
shelf.
just looks so excited. He just went like,
he's already
Alan's
gone.
ready.
He's already out of here.
He's
He knows
gone.
exactly what he's going for.
That's
that
great.
was awesome.
So yes, I'm looking for the book with the oldest copyright, and I got to change my view so I can see whoever comes back first. And while Alan's off doing that, because I don't see Gary, I figured you'd be up because you got a bookshelf that's pretty big behind you, but he's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need a t-shirt. You're muted. We can't hear. Here you go. There. I think you can unmute, and because I think I saw you talking, Gary.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I wouldn't know which one to find in among them, right? Maybe a Bible or something. Yeah.
Well, that would count. I would assume it has a copyright inside. Maybe not. Oh, we have one up there. It does look like a Bible. Let's see. Is Deborah? What's the copyright inside? I couldn't see it. Oh, and then Kat's back with one too.
Type it in the chat.
Yeah, type your copyright in the chat. Oh, we've got a Christmas book. That's pretty good. What's the year on that? We can't see it, Kat.
Yeah, so if you hold up your book and then type it into the chat, that would be helpful. I know Valerie did that. Like she held up her book and typed it into the chat. That was
Okay.
It's a little too small for us to see.
Yeah. And then our next question, while we're letting that get sorted out, how many hours per week or month do authors spend working on their project? How many months do authors work with book launchers? So, I mean, it wildly varies depending on the author, their goals, their work commitments, their life commitments. So that's a really tough question, because we have some authors who, we struggle to get them to do an hour a week, and then others are like doing this full time almost. So they're all over it. And so then that also impacts how many months they work with us. But also, I mean, we have some clients that we're working with for years after their book has launched. And some people are rolling into book 2. And I think we have a few going to book 3 now too. So in those cases, we're counting years, not months. So a typical project, I would say, is usually 12 to 15 months to launch, depending on where they come in. And then usually, 3 to 6 months post-launch for marketing, but that's just a typical. Yeah.
Our longest
all right,
running client, his book came out in 2018.
Yes.
And we've been marketing for him for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we've got a 1926. I see a 1926. I don't want to scroll down.
1716.
What? Who's that?
Oh my gosh.
Alan.
Alan's the historian in me that's awesome.
Wow.
Good
Look at
for
that
you,
book,
Alan.
I love that.
Wow.
Someone else with my love of old books.
I'm going to pin you to the screen so everybody can see that, Alan. Okay, now hold it up again so everyone can see it.
Wow.
Look at that.
Oh, Kat, that's such a, sorry, I'm reading Kat's comment. That's beautiful. The book she has been read every Christmas Eve since her dad received it when he was 8.
This is a textbook for artists in Japan from the early Edo period. So this is what I used to study from.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. So that one was, I'm pretty sure that's the oldest. I'm certain you won. And then who's the second oldest? I'm not scrolling down, you guys. So somebody else who's scrolling down in the chat. I don't want to lose my
Marna
place.
had in 1923, but she wasn't on a computer that had a camera.
Oh, got it. Okay. Anybody else? I'll remove the pin so everybody, there we go.
I see 1942 and 1949. Oh, and then Kat also has a Charlotte's Web from 1908, but she can't find it right now.
Oh, we got to be able to see it. We
Oh,
got
Deborah Lloyd's got
What
her in
was the price,
1926.
T-shirt.
A t-shirt. Okay.
Okay, so did we have a second? Who came second? Who's the second oldest that we could verify?
Was it Deborah with 1926?
Yes,
Yes, she is waving emphatically.
All right. Okay, so Deborah Lloyd for a t-shirt as well. Okay, cool. That's awesome, you guys. That was really cool to see. Okay, so back to my questions. And Alan was just chiming in way back on that. I think you have to be genuinely excited about a subject in order to stay engaged. So I think that was probably about the book of the small interest or whatever it was, but that's true. Oh, I love this question. So Kevin's asking, how important is your social media following when launching a book and trying to get published? Now, if you're trying to get published with a traditional publisher, social media and platform is really quite important for the most part. In many cases, not all, but in many cases, that's what they're really looking at, that more than your topic or as much as your topic to determine if you're going to be able to sell enough books. When you're talking about book launchers and what we do, social media is nice to have, but not mandatory. Because my philosophy is, generally speaking, if you don't already have the following, there's not a lot of point in really trying to build it, because it takes years to build a following. Your book will be long out by the time you have a following that will help you sell books. So you're better off to focus on getting your book in front of other people's audiences, other people who've already built that relationship with people that are your ideal readers. But Sarah, anything you want? And Dan, actually, you're just going through a lot of this and you've got a publishing deal. So I don't know if you've got some perspective you want to add on
Yeah.
this.
No, I definitely do. And I think really it boils down to what are you good at and where is the best place to spend your energy. If you're not good at social media and you don't have a social media following, devoting all your energy to building a social media following is probably a waste of time. But at the same time, it's really important to find avenues that work for you, whether that's speeches, whether that's influencers that you can connect with, whether that's media appearances. You really have to find what it is that you that's in your wheelhouse that can help you to build this platform and brand. But Julie's exactly right about traditional publishing and the importance of a platform. It's actually like so much of an importance that, and there was actually an article in the New York Times a couple days ago about this, how people like Billie Eilish and other really, 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 huge figures are getting these book deals because of their platforms, because of their social media followings, and then they don't sell the books that the publishers think they're going to. So it's really kind of an interesting thing happening in the book industry. But yeah, it really is focused on the best thing you can do is building the brand organically your own way in the best way you can. If social media is not your thing, steer clear of it and do something else that's going to give you more returns.
Yep. I think it also goes back to, again, audience, where your audience exists. You want to be meeting them where they are, and you also want to be discoverable to them. So if your audience is going to be, say, Gen Zers, where are you going to try and, where would you probably most likely want to be is going to be on TikTok. If your audience is going to be more maybe Gen X and, baby boomer, maybe you want to be on Facebook and LinkedIn. And it really is going to depend on your topic and how relevant the content you can put out on social media is going to be what your book is about. I mean, and Dan is 100% right. Especially with those publishers are going to they don't want to have to market. They want you to market for yourself. That's why they go for these big platforms. They have less and less budgets to be able to market you. So if you already have a platform, you're doing their job for them. That what Dan was talking about, which, these big names, Billie Eilish and stuff, that was my job in my previous life. My job was selling major celebrities and interesting bloggers and things to publishers because they had these huge platforms. Whether the book was interesting or not, it almost didn't matter. It could be on anything. So, really, when it comes to social media, do what you're good at, do what comes naturally and is a natural extension of your brand.
That's great. Angela, do you have that slide with the books that we're giving away today?
Yes, let me share my screen. I have it right here.
All right. So we did a deep dive last month with 5 of our fabulous authors, and I forgot during that deep dive to give their books away. So this is for the folks that I know are going to be tuning into the replay, which I'll be posting on December 24th. So as well as the people who are here live. So I think what we're going to do to make it good for replay and good for this is we will go with, let's see, for the live, let's do, sorry, somebody else can let the person in. I got distracted by somebody needing to be let into the room. Okay, so I'm just trying to think of the best way to make this work for both. I think for the replay, I will randomly draw anybody who comments hashtag no boring books on the 24th. And oh, sorry, there wasn't a deep dive in November. This is from October's deep dive. I just saw a comment come up. And so for today, to figure out who's going to get this, let's just see let's go for, I don't know if you guys have ideas. I didn't write this one down. I had scavenger hunt things and I had trivia. So let's just do random numbers. Angela, do you want to do random numbers?
We do. So they're going to be winning the entire pack?
No, they can choose. They could
choose
do the entire pack, but it's kind of random.
Why don't we tie it in, since we were just talking about social media? The first person that we see pop up on on one of the social media platforms with hashtag book launchers.
Cool. Thank you. I was really drawing a blank on what to do for this one. So,
and I'm monitoring right now.
I was going to say, and I hope you're monitoring.
I am looking.
Okay. So first, actually, I mean, we've got 5 books, so we could even do the 5 people, but yes, we'll go with the first couple of people to post hashtag no boring or hashtag book launchers. That's good. On any social media platform, take a picture of you on here. You could take a picture of these books And you've got Armchair Real Estate Millionaire. If you missed the October deep dive, you got to meet all of these authors and hear about their experiences. And so this was Michael Dominguez. This is a Canadian, largely Canadian, although the concepts really apply to American real estate investors. Emily's book, Make Me the Boss, is coming out in January. So we'll still give it away. You just won't get it until it comes out in January. Emil Pandolfi, his book, Play It Like You Mean It, is for anybody who plays piano, especially if you're looking to make more money or really enhance your performance on stage. And then Guy's book, Love Like the French. This is hilarious.
A great book.
This is a really funny book. And it's really about dating and relationships. And it's kind of like a Dear Abby format. It was Dear Abby. I don't know if that's Canadian, but and so there's letters written in and then Guy responds to them, and it's really funny. And then Todd's book, Brain, Why Do You Trouble Me So Much, is a follow-up to his first book, which was Food, Why Do You Trouble Me So Much? And it's a really great kind of, I guess, self-help type book, really getting into some details to help you understand your brain and and why it won't stop sometimes. So those are your choices for the prizes, and you can go ahead and post on social media. And then if you're watching the replay, you'll also be eligible to win, and I will randomly draw from anybody who comments on December 24th. So there you go. All right, so our next question, I've lost our chat box. Oops. When Angela stopped sharing, I was clicking the chat box to bring it back up, but it changed the screen and it ended up stopping the recording. So hopefully it still shows up as one recording. Otherwise, my YouTube posting will be a little funny. Okay, let's see here. Content edit
anything yet?
No posts yet. You guys, the books are still up for grabs here. So all you have to do is go on your social media, post something. And okay, so while we're waiting, Allie Bird, can you tell us what your content edit process looks like? So I'll split this. Kelly, you can take one part of this question and Dan can take the other, so you guys can decide, because part two of the question, there's two parts. Part one, can you tell us what your content edit process looks like? And part two is, what does a writing coach help with? So you guys can decide and split it up.
I feel like you do more coaching than me, Dan, or you have, so maybe that would be a better question for you.
Yeah, I can do
The
coaching.
part. Okay.
Yeah.
I do light coaching. So the content editing process really looks like either you've worked with our ghostwriters or writing coaches and we're getting a manuscript that kind of we help develop in-house, or oftentimes, we get manuscripts off the street, as we like to say, or, kind of a finished product that's coming for editing, or what they think is a finished product, because everything needs to be edited. So what that looks like is one of our content editors, whether that's me or, anyone else on our team, goes through and really looks at, is the book structured well? Does it make sense? I've used an analogy before of like, I go back and forth either between my house analogy or a food analogies. So I'll stick with the house today, because I think there was a YouTube video of me talking about a house in case you want to go back and look at it. So hopefully it still makes sense. So we're looking at, the bones of the house. Like, is this structured well? Is the foundation solid? Is this, can you build on it? Or, is it falling all over the place? Like, there are doors that don't have rooms. Like, is it chaos? Is it good? Does it make sense? So that's kind of the first step in evaluating the manuscript as we go through content edits. And as we progress, it's like, do these ideas hold up? Like, is it lacking evidence? Would evidence or more stories or more something help make this stronger? Will this prop this up? Like, basically, content editing is all about making sure the development of your ideas is solid, and how can we take it to the next level? And that might be adding more personal stories. That might be taking out some personal stories. That might be adding in some more evidence. That might be cutting stuff out and streamlining things a bit. That might look like, cutting sources like Wikipedia. I see often being like, let's add some more, reputable sources here that are going to elevate your expertise and make it clear that you are this expert on this topic. So this is the first round of bulletproofing, as I like to call as well. So, are there ideas here that are really easy to tear apart that your readers are going to look at and be like, what the heck are you talking about? We're your first line of defense there to make sure that your ideas and your arguments are made stronger, that your stories are told well, that overall you're communicating your idea, and that it's one cohesive book. So this is it's less of like I would say copy editing is kind of like painting the house, making sure all the colors match, like making it pretty and good, so you don't like look silly for using, or like misspelling a word or something, or having a comma out of place, which is super important for just your credibility overall. But this is more of like the foundational stuff, the structural stuff, to make sure like can this withstand scrutiny, and will this, will the reader move past the first chapter based on what they read, and like will they keep going, and what will help them keep going. So that's basically the content editing process.
When I
Hopefully
posted
that
the videos earlier for you guys of the 2 links that Kelly's in on YouTube, the second link is where she's talking about content editing as well. So you can check that out. All right, go for it, Dan.
And building off of that, I mean, coaching is similar in a way. It covers a lot of the same ground, but the writing coach process really deals with helping the writer and guiding them to bring the story forward and bring it together. A lot of times when we're dealing with a coaching situation, it involves a manuscript that's already been written. Maybe it needs some work, maybe it needs some help, maybe it needs things to be reorganized, restructured, stories sharpened and tightened. And this would happen before the content edit process. So you're still in the writing stage or the editing stage before you move on to that next step. And coaching is really focused on just bringing the story home, making sure that the manuscript carries from the beginning to the end, that it all fits and connects. And as a coach, really, you're reading through it, you're offering suggestions and input, and letting this person know like where the story lags. And it's different because when you're ghostwriting, you're the one who's doing that writing. You're the one who's with the input with the person you're working with. But when you're the ghostwriter, you're the one who's specifically doing the writing yourself. And in a coaching situation, they're doing the writing. So you're just giving them insight and input, how to make it better, how to make the story really connect, and how to bring it forward. So it's kind of it's a security check process before the content edit, because a lot of the things that would get flagged in a content edit get flagged in the writing coaching process. So it's really that extra step to make this better before it moves on to editing. And then we find ourselves having to make drastic changes, which does happen sometimes. Sometimes if we skip that writing coach process and move to the content edit, and it comes back with a lot of concerns and issues, then we have to spend more time either ghostwriting or coaching, and it kind of all, gets filtered out eventually, but it's just out of order. So I think the writing coach process is really helpful in getting the manuscript in the right place and ready for an edit.
Especially if you don't have a ton of experience writing, like the writing coach is so valuable in that process, because the editing process can be like a little jarring if you have never had feedback on like a piece of work, especially something that's so important to you. Which I know, like as I read this, I try to always read them with care, and know that is, it's your baby, it's your book. And writing coaches or ghostwriters, or kind of earlier on in that process, having some of those supports can often set you up for success later on down the road if that's not something you're accustomed to. It's so valuable.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like we kind of answered this, but we'll see if Sarah has anything more for this one. So I'm not on social media, never have. I know it's part of book promotion. Is it possible to have Facebook accounts tailored to authors that minimize the trash interactions these platforms can have? A page, like a business page, might be the only thing I could think of, but.
Yeah. I mean, basically you probably want, Facebook is the one platform that I recommend you have a separate, business account or author account as opposed to your personal account. On Instagram, LinkedIn or Twitter, some of those others, it's not quite as important, but for some reason on Facebook, it really makes a lot more sense to have that professional account and separate it from your personal life. A lot of people do create a separate Instagram as well, and that's fine. So yeah, I would recommend having that. What I would say is if you're not planning on using social media, it's never somewhere you're existed and never somewhere you feel like you want to be, then you need to have a plan B. You need to know how you are going to be reaching people. Is it through an email list? Is it through networking? Are you part of groups or associations, or do you have some other outlet that is going to help you reach as many people as you need to? So just, if you're not going to be on social media, you should have a strong plan B.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, your website and building a newsletter list are really more important than those things.
I would put more, put more emphasis on website and building an email list than I would on social media.
And then Allie's asking about pricing. How do you determine the price a book should be? Did we lose Jacqueline?
Sorry, I was answering
there you are.
questions in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, that's totally fine. I was like, all of a sudden I didn't see where you were.
Sorry.
You disappeared.
I am going to need you to repeat the question though. Sorry.
Pricing. How do you determine the price a book should be?
Ooh, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So one of the big ones that we look at first is what category your book is going to be placed in. And we look at the top 100. Your book is going to be in 3 different print categories, typically in 2 different ebook categories. And while we determine them, we also look at, okay, we've got the top 100 books, and what are those books average selling? Like, what is the window that they're in? So ebooks, it tends to be between $2.99 and $9.99 because Amazon gives us a 70% royalty. And so a lot of authors are within that price point, and we narrow it down in that window based on the category that you're in. When it comes to your print categories, quite often there's like niche specific, like self-help. It tends to be on the cheaper side. It tends to be between $12 and $15 for print. But if it was educational and psychology, you would be like up in the $30 to $50 range, because anything education related is just really overpriced. So then you end up, digging in and going, okay, what is the actual price point that I think is going to work for my book? And then we look and see, okay, this is the cost of creating your book. This is the print charge that just any book that you sell is going to have. And let's take a look and find the right price point that is going to hit with your audience, but is going to make it worthwhile for you to sell it royalty wise.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so Gary wrote a question here. Okay, I'm writing a book about hope, having survived 9 months in 4 hospitals and a nursing home last year after contracting COVID. The book uses my experiences in recovering from COVID to provide lessons and hope to others. Some of my story in real time was on television and newspaper. How long do you think it will take to publish and bring it to market? Any ideas are welcome. So when you say you're writing it, I assume you're still in the draft process, like you're still putting, okay, so you're nodding. So it depends. I mean, there's so many factors when somebody says, how long do you think it will take? Are you planning to put it through like the typical, so we do everything that a traditional publisher would do as far as like 3 rounds of edit. That doesn't mean that's what you have to do. That's just what we do to bring it to the standard and quality level of a traditionally published book. So are you planning to do that kind of process?
Yeah, I'm exploring how I should do it, and whether to go with a traditional publisher or consider what you have to offer, So right now I'm open to ideas, and getting it to a point where I'm telling the story, and then I'm going to be putting in some examples of how hope has helped me, hope through God, where was God in the whole process, and trying to bring out the best in the medical professionals once I came to after the 70 days on the ventilator. But and I actually saw the best in so many people, and so many people were actually lost, that people would come into my room, the medical professionals, and ask if they could just spend 5 minutes with me, because I would have a way to kind of help them to see the best in things and bring them out of their cycle of depression, you know?
Right. So would you say this is a book specifically for COVID or for people that are in a hospitalization situation?
Yeah, I think the lesson is way beyond COVID. You know, COVID won't be the last crisis we ever have.
Yeah.
So it's a way to find hope in that crisis, whatever the hope is, whatever the crisis is, that is. And so, my goal with the whole book is to bring that out to others in the world who feel like maybe they're in a hopeless situation. That's it, it's over, and what have you. But it doesn't have to be. I'm supposed to be one of the dead ones, over 65 and with some pre-existing condition. But I like to use the hope I even brought into others to translate into the book to people who might be in whatever their crisis is, whether COVID's not going to leave us for a while, that's for sure, but it also won't be the last crisis. And whether it's a medical crisis or some other crisis in people's lives.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, that gives me some good information. So, there's so to answer your original question about timing, going the traditional route is going to take way longer than if you self-publish. Dan's nodding because his book is done and he's still not launching until May.
I finished my draft on my book on January 4th, and I got edits back in late October. It took 10 months to get my edits back. So, and that's not even counting the publishing phase. So the book's actually coming out in the end of May when I finished the draft this January. So
from start to finish, from the time, and we won't even go through the proposal sure, just from start to finish, how long has this journey been with the traditional publisher?
I signed a deal with my publisher in March of 2020. It was right after COVID hit. So 2 years.
Yeah. And you signed it and it was an instant thing, right? The deal just appeared on your desk and it was no.
Magically. It's right there. No, if we go back to the proposal, I started shopping the proposal in November of 2019. So 2.5 years.
Great. Thanks, Dan. So so just, that's a very common timeline, Gary, for traditional publishers, assuming you're even going to get a traditional deal, which there's so many factors that go into that it's not that common to get a deal we're signing in particular. And so from the self-publishing perspective, depending on where your manuscript's at when it comes in, like if it's half done or it's an idea, or if it's the first draft and the quality and kind of the work that needs to go into that first draft, you're usually somewhere between 9 to 15 months away from launching when you come to book launchers. So that's really the difference. There's lots of factors, your time invested in this too, but that's the common timeline. So that should help from a marketing perspective. Whenever somebody comes in and says, my book is about hope, I want to get more specific with who the hope is for. And after they have hope, what's now different in their life. And that's where I would say we want to drill down. So I'm happy to hear it's not just for COVID, because, COVID is a conversation that a year from now, we have no idea what our conversation is going to be like. But if you were to say it's for any sort of medical, like you're somebody going through a medical crisis, that is an audience that is okay. Now we want to give that somebody going through a medical crisis, you want to give them hope. And now after they have hope, what's different? Is it how they treat the doctors? Is it how they experience the whole process? So that's where we want to drill down a little further. So we've got clarity of message, because then that gives the marketing team a clear, who has this group of people in their audience when they go to pitch your book and try to market it. So hopefully that helps. He's nodding. Okay, good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, so a couple people had to leave.
We do have a prize that we never gave away.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The social media one.
Great. Did we get results for that, Sarah?
Yeah, I got 4.
Okay, great.
that I was able to find. I've got Mark Cricky, Kat Lind, Valerie Cantella, and Kevin Thompson.
Yay. Thank you guys. So we have those 5 books and we can put the titles in the chat as well. And you can choose from those 5 books. Let us know which of those you would like.
I can share my screen again. So I'm sorry, Sarah, who was the 4th one? I have Mark Cricky, Valerie.
Kevin Thompson.
Or I'm sorry, I have Kevin. I do have Kevin, Valerie, and Mark. Who is that?
And Kat Lind.
Okay, awesome. And here, let me put these back up on the screen for you guys really quickly so you can see. These are the 5 that you can choose from.
And then I know I saw a question, and I think I've gone past it now, that somebody was writing a memoir and they didn't really want to, it was like a one-time thing. I'm not going to do other books. I'm not really interested in building a brand. So how do you market it? So sorry, I can't find the question now, but I know I read.
I think I have it.
Okay, great.
Let me look. I was putting all of these down on here. Let me see. So do you want to skip to another question? Because I have a lot.
No,
of
I think
questions.
I saw that one as well, and
Okay.
I think I can answer it. So, and that actually makes a lot of sense. As a memoir, you're not necessarily going to be building a brand and doing a lot of offerings like classes or courses or webinars or anything like that. But if you are writing a memoir, one of the best ways to sell it is to figure out like who this memoir is for. Who are you helping with it? Who is the audience? And why are they going to want to read it? And then you have to be looking at, okay, what are the ways I'm going to be reaching that audience? So if you're not building a brand, not maybe going to have a lot of email newsletters or things like that, one of the best ways to probably sell some of those stories is through speaking. So going and doing speaking to certain audiences based on your story. And so that's one major way to do it. Another way could be partnering up with organizations or groups that are in your area. I always, you want to start locally so that you have leverage to go nationally. So you want to be looking at organizations that your story potentially can help. It's all going to come down to what the messaging of that memoir is and who it's helping. And that will help you identify who are the groups that you're going to want to connect with. And in a lot of those cases, if you're not building an email list, you're not building out, workshops or trainings or whatever else, how are people going to discover this story? It's because they're going to see you somewhere. Now, there's a lot of PR and publicity that you can potentially do. There's a lot of opportunities to share your story online, whether it's through podcasts or, interviews, what have you. But you want to figure out sort of, okay, I'm telling my story. Now what? Now that people have this story, what's the next thing? What do you want to help them do or achieve? What is someone who's reading that story? What's the next action step that you want them to take after that? Because that might help channel a little bit of okay, I have this story that is going to help people get through their nasty divorce. And on the other side, you want them to be able to have happier relationships. All right, that's a for instance. What can you be doing with organizations that help people have happy relationships? Who can you be partnering with that might want to share your story because it's going to help their audience? So you're going to look for shared audiences in those instances. I'm sorry, guys. I have a little bit of a cold, so it's getting progressively worse. So I'm sorry. That's why I keep putting on mute. So
Thanks for being here, even though you're sick.
It's okay, guys.
Quickly tagging on to that, just like a little phrase I found very helpful when like crafting a mindset for memoirs is this story is about you, but it's not for you. And keeping that in mind,
my
like
favorites,
because it's nice and short and sweet, can be so helpful in remembering how to craft it and then what next steps to take. So just, always having that impact focus is like the way to go there.
Fantastic. All right, we got another scavenger hunt. This time, I am looking for the most festive or ridiculous pen. So I don't know who has a festive or ridiculous pen sitting nearby. But if you do, you want to show it to us. I see people looking. I love watching you guys look. That's my favorite part of the scavenger hunt. All right. And I saw Alan leave. I was just going to make a comment. So Alyssa, do you see Alan's question about his symposium for next year? if you can just take down, like copy and paste his question, or Angela might have it. I want to just have that addressed to him and his situation on Monday. So did you hear me say that, Alan? Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I'll Slack it to you, Elissa.
Okay, yeah, we'll make sure you get an answer on Monday because that's very specific to your situation, but we'll make sure we help you with that. And then I'm scrolling down, looking for the next one. I still don't see a pen. Was this a hard one? Nobody has a ridiculous pen. Oh, of course, Alan does. What is that? I can see him trying to unmute to provide it. Hold on, we might have to give you, yeah, there you go. You should be able to unmute now. Oh.
Okay, so it's not technically not a pen, so I don't win, but this is a tool of my trade. So this is what you stick in your sash. This is an inkwell, so you can see, and then this is where my paintbrush goes. It's my paintbrush. So wherever I go, if I want to sketch or anything like that, this is handy. So it's definitely funky and weird, but it's not a pen, so.
It's still cool. Thanks for sharing.
No
I see a cat had something. I don't know. Was that a festive or strange pen?
Ooh.
Let's see here. You might have to unmute to explain.
It's like a brush pen. I don't know if you can see or you can.
That's pretty cool.
I do calligraphy, so it was my fancy way of trying to do Christmas cards in metallic green.
All right, that's cool. We'll call that a winner. That's pretty festive. All right, so that was for a magnet. So if I don't know what you won already today, but you can just add it to the list when you said it.
I've got a book. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's mute that. And okay, moving on to our next thing. Mark, I see a question. We are publishing the book as a couple, but it relates to our business. Can we combine the two and launch from our business website? Yeah, we often add a book page to business websites. That's totally fine. Let's see, next.
And I would just like to say there are actually a lot of outlets out there that love to talk to husband and wife or married partner that are in business. It's actually a huge topic.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, fun fact, that was the book. If anybody's ever heard me talk about my story with Wiley and how I got rejected, the book idea they wanted me to write about, which I often don't talk about that because it's not really relevant to the story, but the book idea they wanted me to write about was real estate investing for a couple, which I was hardly an expert in. It's like how we do it and how it works for us didn't really seem relevant to others. So I'm really glad I didn't write that book. I'm so glad they turned me down. But anyways, that's a different story. Okay, and Kat, I think we really did answer this. You might not have been on here. So Kat asked about like what kind of hand-holding is available to a new author to handle the overwhelm of the entire marketing process. Now, we talked about the whole process from start to finish, but our marketing is really built right in. So the hand-holding through our marketing process really happens in conjunction with the entire process. You start meeting the book marketing team when your book goes to edit. But do you want to add anything, Alyssa or Sarah?
I can. We definitely start talking about marketing stuff early, and I have some things to help with on that side, but then we also have Nicole, who's our wonderful book launch coordinator, on the marketing side, and she and I kind of coordinate and work together throughout the whole process to make sure that you do know things when you need to know them and that it isn't overwhelming, and that you have someone to go to for a quick and straightforward answer anytime you need it. So you definitely have people at your disposal to help with that, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And if you missed it, Kat, you can go back because Alyssa did a wonderful explanation of what her role is as a concierge and how she holds your hand through the entire process. Okay, so Allie's asking about copyright process in other countries. We only help with copyright in the US. Yeah, and it's pretty, I mean, I've done it in Canada and it's pretty straightforward. The Canadian government has a website. You just follow the steps. It's, I think, actually a lot easier than in the US, although it was easier in the US because Jacqueline did it for me.
Also true. But when it does come to other countries, they are actually easier and often free. Canada, we saw how to do it in Singapore. Basically, when you're going to get your ISBN, it has a system where it is free. Then often the copyright process is really easy, and they really just want you to send 2 copies of the book when it's published. And that's like the cost of entry, which is nothing.
Yeah. Although the Canadian system, it might be a little better now, but they wanted you to send 2 copies of the audiobook, but then they never told you how to send them. So, and it's like they still are built on the system that audiobooks are on CDs.
Oh, bless.
So anyways, I mean, it's been a few years, but it hasn't been that many years. This was 3 years ago, and I was still getting letters from the Canadian government 2 years ago, basically 3 years ago, saying like, hey, can we get a copy of your audiobook? And I would respond and say, what format? And they would say CD, and I'm like, that doesn't exist. But anyways, that's a different story. Okay, so I don't think I missed any questions there, but if I have, let me know. I'm down at, I feel like we've covered author platform versus help your business. Yeah, I feel like we covered that. So we'll leave that and we can come at the end if we need to. Just checking to see. Okay. Peng wrote a question about an editor and guidance, what to do next, and an email address so we can follow up with you, Peng. Okay, so Kat said, I spend more time feeling like I should just give up than being excited about moving forward. My book and subject matter is such a small niche and such a sensitive subject. I'm starting to question whether there's any way to actually reach my reader. Without knowing what niche you're in, I'm almost always excited when somebody thinks their niche is too small, because it's usually the easiest to market to. And we had one book that I often use as an example, and I mean, Sarah can talk to this too, because she's obviously been really close to all the marketing, but we had one that was about tactical lock picking for first responders. That's a pretty small niche, and it was one of the easiest books for them to market. Like, it was a very obvious,
100%.
like, yeah.
Generally and I'm just going to give you guys some numbers, like generally when we're sending out pitches for media for coverage, you're going to get anywhere from a 15 to 20 to 25% success rate. For that one, it was like 75% success rate. It was like everyone I reached out to, which were these like niche little podcasts or outlets and things, were like, yes, we'll promote this. Yes, absolutely. Because the more niche your topic, the more the people that are in it want. They want to talk about it. So yeah, it's unbelievable. So when you are niche, don't shy away from that.
And then I'd love to throw this question also over to Elissa as an author concierge who is helping authors navigate the emotional side of writing, and see what advice she'd give.
Sure, of course. My biggest thing is that feeling is so normal. I feel like every writer I've ever talked to at one point or another has reached a part of the process where they're like, this is a waste of my time. No one's ever going to read it. This is the most horrible thing that's ever been, put on paper. And it's never true, ever. But I think just being able to talk through that and understand that that is just a part of the creative process, and that if anything, all it signals is that this project matters, which then is why you should keep working on it. So I would just say, when that discouragement comes, just try to acknowledge that that is normal, and it doesn't signal that there's anything wrong at all. And if you are with us, call your author concierge, because that's part of what we're here for, is to help navigate that, for sure.
That's awesome. I just saw the comment that Mark's kids thought Alan was the real Santa.
Just for any other encouragement, like, I don't think I've worked with like someone through the ghostwriting process, the coaching process, or the editing process who didn't at some point feel discouraged. And when all was said and done, it was still worth it. It was a good book. Just got to push through.
It's honestly the people who don't ever question their book that worry me the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're questioning, I think that's good, because you also work a little harder to make it great, which is important. So yeah, I think that's great. Thanks, guys. I've lost my place, Angela. So I don't know if you know where I am in the questions, but I've lost my place.
Okay, hold on just 1 second. Yes, I do know. And actually Kat did put the niche that she's working on in the chat. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was oh, it just scrolled down. It's about finding joy and purpose inside child loss.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay. So the next question is by Valerie, and it says, can people share their book titles and whether they're published or on sale? That was more like a question.
Oh, like, yeah, put it in the chat. Yeah, I don't know if anybody here is published yet. Oh, Trisha's here.
Yeah, I know she said her Wi-Fi's gone in and out.
Oh, okay. Well, Trisha just launched, so hooray. So that just happened, but I don't know if anybody else, at least I don't know. Some of the other people might. Yeah. Some of the other folks here may have launched already, but that we don't know that aren't Book Launchers authors. So you can go ahead and post that. Okay, so any advice on how to keep moving forward and writing when you're faced with a major life crisis? Dan, Kelly, Alyssa, I think one of you is probably going to be good for that one.
I mean, my book's a little out of the ordinary. I spent like 8 years working on it, but with all that said, I mean, I really think the key point is to schedule the time, to put in the time commitment as much as you can every single week. Spend some time, if it's 5 minutes a day, if it's an hour a week, consistently schedule time to work on it, because otherwise you will put it aside, you will get too busy, you will find other things that get in the way. And that's the worst feeling, is other things take precedence. Obviously, there are times when things do take precedence. There are times when you're having a horrible week and you don't have the mental capacity or the energy or the enthusiasm to work on it. And that's okay. It really is. I've been there a lot of times with my project where it was too much and I just had to put it down and say, okay, I'll come back to this. But really, as much as you can, schedule time consistently to work on it, make consistent progress. I always look at a whole book and you think of 40, 50, 60, 80, 100,000 words, however long it is. And you think of this huge giant thing, but really a book is break it down onto chapters, break it down to paragraphs, break it down to sentences. You can do it when you think of it in terms of those little things, sentences, paragraph, chapters. When you think of it as this whole big overwhelming project, it gets overwhelming. It's really difficult. But if you can think of it in those little terms and say, I'm going to work on this little spot today. I'm going to make progress on this chapter that needs some work. I'm going to work on this paragraph. And then you can come back to it fresh when the next time you look at it.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, along with scheduling time, like that's a big part of it. I think creating little deadlines for yourself, that's very helpful to me, someone who is a procrastinator. If I don't have those deadlines in place, very helpful to schedule, just like chunk it out with little deadlines. So it's more motivating to create that time to schedule aside. And then a big part of moving forward too, I find, is that even if you are kind of feeling blah and you hate what you're writing in that moment, like it's okay if you don't feel like that section is your best, or you don't feel like, for whatever you're going through, like that's impacting your quality. It's okay if it's not the best, because your editor, whether that's with Book Launchers or, hire an editor, no matter what you do, but they'll help you even to make that better. And it also might not be as bad as you think, even if you're feeling bad, and even if you weren't impressed with your own work. It's way easier to edit something and to get it to polish it up than it is to just like be staring at this blank page. So even if you're like, this doesn't feel like my best, I'm not putting my best foot forward, that's okay. As long as you just get something on the page, that is progress, and that counts, and that matters, and that will contribute to your overall goal. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So if you're feeling blah and your writing is like not your best, it's okay.
And for what it's worth, we're not always the best judges of that. It's funny, on our team, like we'll get submissions from one of our copywriters, an example, and she'll say, I was really struggling with this one. I don't think it's very good. And then I'll read it and I'll be like, this is awesome. No changes. Or my videos, as another example, I'll be like, oh, that one just didn't feel good. And then I post it and it's like the best one in 3 months. So you're not always the best judge of what, because you have your own emotions around the topic you're writing about. So it's not always the best judge. So that's great advice. Thank you, Kelly. Trisha, I see your hand is raised. Let me ask you to unmute and you can go ahead.
I just wanted to say that there were a lot of times like that when I was writing, and sometimes writing can actually be a nice little escape from your life. if you choose to go that route, to just sort of compartmentalize it a little bit and use it as a way out. But the other thing is, sometimes life can get you in a, it could, I mean, even when you're in like a funk emotionally, sometimes you write really, really well then. And I had a writing teacher that told me sometimes you just need to bleed on the page. And my book is a memoir. So she's like, I just want you to bleed on the page. And sometimes I found myself crying through sections of writing, and some of it was the best stuff I wrote, but it was hard. I'm not saying it was easy, but it was really good.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, Trisha. Do you have a copy of your book? You could hold it up for everybody. I don't, mine, I didn't pick it up from the mail yet. So I can't hold it up. Mark, I love your t-shirt. I just have to say, I love Tom and Nick. Rockstar Real Estate. So anybody who doesn't know, my first book that went to #1 on Amazon, it was largely because of them. 8 was enough. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. They're great. Thank you so much for sharing, Trisha. That was awesome. Okay, so, oops, just heading back to my questions here. What other publishing platforms could I put my book on instead of Amazon? That's from Dana. And yes, that is a great question. So we just were talking about this the other day because we have an author who is not going to have Amazon for anything. And so for me, one of the things I've done with Self-Publish and Succeed is I've set it up through on Lulu, but using the Shopify app so that I can sell it direct from my website, from ads and things like that. So when any ad that I run out there in the world, that's a paid ad that goes to the book page, is done through that. And I do that for a few reasons, but the biggest is so I can actually see conversions and actually see who's, what ads are performing. So I'm not throwing buckets of money in an ad that isn't working. So that's one thing. So if you're selling from your website, you can do that, and you'll make more money per copy typically as well. But you can also, there's some great platforms, especially ebook. Kobo is a really good ebook platform, and they love indie authors in general, but they have some really great programs for pre-launch where they're actually going to rank you in pre-launch for your sales. And then on launch, they actually count those sales again. You don't get paid twice, but for ranking purposes, they count it twice. So it's really, really cool for Kobo. But we use Ingram, which is going to distribute to bookstores, indies, all that stuff. Jacqueline, what am I missing?
For audiobooks, we use Findaway Voices instead of going to Audible if an author chooses not to go and put their book on Amazon. And we use Draft Digital to do our pushing the books to Nook and libraries and the whole ecoverse of ebooks outside of Amazon.
Thank you. And I think Eric is gone now, but he was asking earlier about links and using the ebook as a lead generator. And I think that setting it up, there's other programs out there for using the ebook as a generator, but also print books. I think this is running it through Lulu Shopify is another good solution for people who want to use it. Even doing the free plus shipping, which I always argue is not free because you charge enough that you're actually building in the print cost. So it's not a legit free plus shipping offer. So that one irks me just because it's not legit, but that's, I won't go down that rabbit hole. But some of those setups like the Shopify Lulu setup can help you use those as lead magnets for your business, generate leads, because you are still getting the buyer's contact information so that you can still build a relationship with them, which of course, when they buy it through any other platform, you should be putting something for people who want to build their platform and engage and build a relationship with their readers. You should be putting something inside of the book as a call to action, an invitation to download a reader magnet so that you're still getting some email addresses from your readers, but ultimately, that's not going to attract it's going to be a small percentage of your readers that are going to end up making that download. So something like the Shopify app, or using book funnels, or some of these other platforms, you can get the contact information and build a relationship with your reader that way. All right.
On a note on that, since we're talking about Lulu, Press, and Shopify, if one of you is like, oh yes, I'm going to set that up this afternoon, just be warned, it is finicky to set up, and you're going to spend an afternoon doing it initially, and then you'll get your first couple of sales and realize you didn't do it right, and then have to troubleshoot it. And then once it is set up correctly, it'll just keep going and churning for you. But it is a nuanced process that is going to take some time to figure out.
Yeah. And we even had a situation when mine was first set up that the sales were happening, but the book wasn't actually getting delivered. So there's some of that stuff. Like, now it runs pretty smoothly, but it was a little finicky in the beginning. So yes, thank you. When I say it just set up things, it's like you just ask Jacqueline for help and they magically get set up. So it's an advantage of working with book launchers and having Jacqueline on your side. Marna is asking about the Library of Congress. And
she's away from her desk.
Oh, she's not there? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But somebody else
your
might.
empty chair.
Okay. Well, Marna, I'm still answering your question. There, she's back.
We go.
Okay, cool. So is it a good thing? Yes, it is a good thing. Is it likely to happen? I don't know. I would say I've seen on websites like 20-25% of people who submit to the Library of Congress actually get in. That number may even be lower, honestly, because we don't see very many submissions actually getting accepted. Jacqueline, do you have any input or anything to add on that? No. Okay, there is a video on YouTube on the Library of Congress that you can oh, you saw that one? Okay, great. All right, so is there a Julie YouTube video walking through registering copyright in Canada by any chance? No, but it's super easy. I don't know, is Andy still here? I think he was one that said goodbye earlier. But the copyright process in Canada is substantially easier. There is an ISBN video for Canadians on the YouTube channel. I don't think I did the copyright part, but it was literally like 2 more clicks and it was done, or 3 more clicks and a couple of entries and it was done. It was pretty easy. And that one I did myself. So when I say it's pretty easy, it was actually easy. It wasn't me saying, Jacqueline, please help me. And then it was easy for me. Okay, just looking, see if there's any more questions here. We do have one last scavenger hunt, so I think now's a good time for that last scavenger hunt item. And this will be for the first person, we'll get a t-shirt, and the next 2 people will get a magnet. And this is for anybody who has a book written by an author with a first or a last name starting with the letter W. And Leah is here on the phone and we don't see her. So she had a book for 1908. She was unable to show her video because she's on her phone. Weirdly, we're not seeing phone numbers on this. So there's some people who are on the phone that are emailing me that say they're here, but they're not able to show their video. So Leah, if you want to email us a picture of your 1908 copyright to Angela, then we will absolutely give you a prize. So if you're still here and still hearing this, email Angela. I think she put her email in the chat a little while ago, angela@booklaunchers.com. So email her that and we'll still give you a prize, even though you couldn't show us on video that it was 1908 copyright. Anybody got a book that has a W for the first or the last? Alan's got everything.
I have a question, Julie.
Yes.
So this book is an anthology and there are multiple authors. And one of them has a hyphenated last name.
With the W?
Yes. It's Jermaine McNeil -Winbush. There's the list.
I think we will in fact count that. You can call that a win. And then what are you holding up, Marna? I can't quite see it. Oh, there we go. Wills. I think Wills. Yep, that's legit too. And then we've got a Wilbur Smith from Mark. Okay, cool. So, oh there, Leah, you're on video. Hooray for you. You got it connected. And then I've lost, oh, there you are. Okay, so Dana would be our number 1 and Marna. So Dana gets a t-shirt and Marna and Mark get magnets. I think Mark's getting everything today.
you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Congratulations. Okay, so last few questions of the day. I'm just scrolling through to make sure where to find them here. There's lots of commentary here that I am just trying to find questions. We've got a writing group suggestion, which is great. Google has a dictating feature, but make sure you edit it. Otherwise, it sounds like a bad James choice. That's a good one. Do you all help with marketing, even if the book is completed? If your book is completed and launched and already out there in the world, we currently do not take that on. We will help if you want to do a second edition, because there's lots of things we can do to, kind of improve the book to relaunch it with the second edition. But if it's already out there, we won't take it on at this point. We've tried a few times, and it's like the whole boulder analogy, right? You got to roll that giant boulder up the mountain to get it to go over to the other side. And it's really hard because you're starting from the bottom and there's no momentum. So it's easier to be rolling the boulder up the mountain a little bit as your book is getting done, and then building that momentum so that, the hope is that it starts rolling down the other side without having to constantly push super, super hard. All right, next up, can you sell others' books on Lulu Shopify that aren't published through them? Oh, you did your paperback through Amazon, but a coil bound through Lulu. I don't totally understand the question. Do you see the question, Jacqueline?
It was
Other
at
books on Lulu
2:39.
Shopify than just ones that are published through them. Yes. So you can have, and in fact, Julie, our distribution for Self-Publish and Succeed. We have the book loaded with Ingram, and that does the distribution to all of the bookstores. Then we have it loaded directly into KDP Print, so that anyone who's ordering on Amazon will get theirs self-fulfilled, and it sometimes is faster than Ingram, and it activates that look inside feature. And then we also have Shopify and Lulu activated for Self-Publish and Succeed. So anyone who is ordering through the ads is getting fulfilled through Lulu Press, and we're capturing all of their information, which we can't do through Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any other of the other retailers out there. So you can have your book loaded in multiple places, and we do have ways that they will work and play well together. But if your book is published to distribute worldwide on Amazon, you won't be able to do the Ingram piece, but you could still do the Lulu Press piece. So it really depends on how you set yourself up of what the other pieces are that are available to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you got that. Let's see here. So James wants to do a 60-second pitch of a book idea. So I'm game. Where's James? Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, I'm not hearing you yet.
It looks like you're unmuted, James, but maybe your microphone is covered or something.
Do you have a headset? You could try and put headphones in, and we can come back to you in a minute. While we're waiting for that, let's see, does Ingram automatically send the book to stores, or is that something you have to do for that to happen? So it'll go online automatically. So you'll find it on Barnes & Noble and lots of places. For the Canadians, it'll be on Chapters, Indigo, places like that online. To get it in physically, there's extra steps to take to get physical bookstore distribution. Usually that will begin with a live appearance at a bookstore, kind of generating sales through that bookstore, and then kind of nudging that domino so other dominoes fall from there. Not always. Some books do get listed based on performance on Amazon and other kind of factors. If a bookstore thinks your book is going to sell, you're set up for a better chance of success, but sometimes they have to know it's there. So that's one thing Sarah and the team do, and we're back to doing now that stores are open again. We kind of stopped a lot of our physical distribution efforts when COVID hit, but is working to get bookstore distribution on bookshelves for people that's important too. James, I thought I heard something. It didn't work still? All right. If you want to type, if you want to give us a short synopsis typed up, we'll work with that. Yeah, go ahead, Jacqueline.
I was just going to add to the bookstore distribution. One of our very first books that we published, for an example, she started sending in her book army to buy the book in the store. Like she targeted one store and said, go in and buy the book. And so they just ordered a case. And then she set up a book signing there. And then the case of books sold out after she was gone. So like after the book signing event, the leftover copies, she signed them. She got the sticker that said like, this is a signed author copy, and it sold out. And then we reached out to them and said, hey, we noticed you were selling this book, but that it's out. Are you planning on ordering more? And it caught the attention of the buyer for the region. And he looked at it and said, you know what? We're going to put this in all of our bookstores that have a wellness center, like a wellness section. And so there's 31 bookstores that are now going to carry this book.
And she even got like beautiful end cap display, which we had nothing to do with. But they did these really cool displays with her book and 2 other books and then like other stuff. It was really, really cool. It was just one of those kind of lucky happenstance things. But yeah, that's a great example. And then Andy's asking, do you turn on and allow returns? If you want bookstores, you have to allow returns. What discount do you set? So Jacqueline has a really good strategy on discounts. Do you want to just give them the quick 411 on discount strategy?
So I guess it really depends on when you're going to go after the bookstore distribution. If you are planning on just getting reviews first and concentrating online, you're going to set your wholesale discount down at the lower end. We have found that worldwide distribution kicks in at about 35%. If you do 30%, some stores won't pick it up. And then once you know that you are going to go after physical bookstores and have a strategy and push your book that direction, we need to upgrade it to the full pop 55%, because the bookstores only see that it is at full discount or that it's a short discount. It's one or the other. And it doesn't matter if it's 54% versus 55, they are only seeing it as a short discount. So go to the full pop, and it's going to take about 2 weeks before they see it in their system as being returnable and eligible for their criteria to go into full bookstore distribution. On your publication day, by the way, you can load your book into Amazon KDP Print, which is where the vast majority of your Amazon sales are going to come through. So you get a set amount there, and you don't have to worry about the wholesale discount at all. And then you can set up your Ingram to be the full 55%, and you're not going to be leaving any money on the table. You're opening up the opportunity, and you're still going to get the full amount from Amazon in the meantime.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So James, I think this is a good one to wrap up on, so that we can call it a day after this. So working title is Automation Nation, aimed at the layman, and covers the domain of aviation, driverless cars, and the workplace. It covers the pros and cons and aspects that most people are not aware of. Also points out that sometimes the human brain is underrated. So my first question is always, who do you see as the ideal reader for this book? That would be kind of the first thing I would want to understand. I feel like we should have music playing while James frantically types answers to my questions. And while he's doing that, I'll just say thank you to everybody for being here, and those watching the replay. Thank you. It's been a really fun time, and especially thank you. Yeah, the Jeopardy tune, and especially huge thank you to my team for being here, and Dan for surprising us. The surprise appearance from Dan, who maybe thought he was just going to pop in, but but we glued
Nice
him.
to be here.
Yeah,
Working Saturday.
We glued him here. So, all right. So James says, those interested in technology and wonder why planes crash and Teslas sometimes kill their occupants.
Okay, so you could have just said, Jacqueline, this book is for you, because I want this.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, Dan, I feel like I'm going to turn this over to you from the writing perspective, if that's okay. Kelly too. I mean, either one of you, really.
It's interesting. No, it's definitely an interesting topic. I mean, we see even the self-checkout line at the at the store, and then the attendant has to come and help you because the machine doesn't work or it doesn't scan something quickly enough. I think there's definitely so many changes we've seen in our world over the last couple decades in automation, and it's changed the way we live. It's changed the way we do business and so many other different things. And I definitely think there's something there and something that's been lost as well. And I think if if you can really target and focus in on those key points, and self-driving cars is a good example. Like I think there's definitely something there.
Yeah, and I would just add on, like, the way my radar kind of works, this is just totally like my newsy brain kicking in, is that those are things that are like currently in big conversations. Like there have been many like really interesting investigations published on those topics. And just when I would see that, I'd be like, oh, that clicks immediately to be like, oh, I remember like this thing I read about this or this thing. So I'd be interested in learning more. Like that's immediately where my brain goes.
Yeah, that's great. And I was thinking the same thing. Like you could become like the local or even wider than that news expert on these subjects because they're always in the news. My next question for you though is, what's your goal, or like what's success look like for you with this book? Because understanding that will help me also, give you guidance on whether it's worth pursuing at this stage, depending on what you want to achieve from it. So just reading the comments. Thank you all. I missed a lot, so I'll catch up on the replay. Replay's coming out December 24th.
Julie, can I confirm something with you?
Yeah, please go ahead.
From the last prizes that we gave out, Dana was the first place winner, and I had Alan West. And I just want to confirm the third was it Mark. Okay, and it was MA. We have a few people with MAs I can remember. So
okay. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Okay, earn credibility as an author and become a subject matter expert. So I would say that really should line you up well to do that, especially because you're writing it for the layman. So that really should set it up for a lot of things. Sarah, do you have anything to add to it? No?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it's really easy for those types of books to get down in the weeds. So I think finding that layman link, how it relates to our daily life. Unlike Jacqueline, I do not try to worry about how planes crash because I would never get on one. So, what would be something that would make me want to pick it up? And, and I think Dan brought up a good point about how automation is taking such a place in our regular everyday lives as well. So I think it's important to just keep that thread and then identify other books that you would think that this book would sit next to on a shelf. Like literally go to a bookstore and be like, okay, would this be in, business, or, is it going to be in, I mean, for me, I would think that this would be in future thinking, but that's not a shelf. So find the shelf where this would be and, start to look at what the competing titles are. And that can help you start to visualize it from a marketing perspective of, what you need to do from the onset.
Yeah. What I would also do when your book is coming closer to publication is also to do some sort of media training to learn how to talk in sound bites, because the kind of like being a subject matter expert, if you can master that piece of it, when large news stories break, there are subject matter experts that they go to, that they just have a list and want to fill the time on the air and be able to ask you questions and be able to get reliable short answers out of it. When I was in college, one of my professors would sometimes have to call out a class because something had happened in the news and he'd have to go talk about why a plane crashed. So
awesome. Yeah, thank you. And for the authors that are Book Launchers authors that are here, we do media training with you because that is something that we have realized that people need help with specific to their book, is figuring out the little sound bites and how to kind of tie it back to your book without repeatedly saying, oh, that's in my book and that's in my book and that's in my book, because that's a really quick way to get yourself off of the media list. but you can eloquently do that. So you will be given media training if you are not at that stage yet. It usually happens right in the pre-launch phase. So okay, cool. So that's the end of it. Thank you so much to all of you. Huge, huge thanks to Alyssa, Sarah, Kelly, Angela, Jacqueline, and Dan for being here, and to all of you for joining us for our annual holiday extravaganza. Angela will be spending the next month at the post office, and and after all of that is done, you will receive your prizes. So make sure she gets an email as soon as possible so that she can do it all in one trip, which would be ideal for her. So thank you so much, everybody. Wishing you a wonderful, safe, and happy holiday season. Take care.
Thank you.